these physical struggles and battles with the different nations that oppressed us, with all the decrees and the pogroms, were just a derivative of a spiritual battle between the Klippas, which are the source of chayos of the nations of the world, and between the Neshamas Israel. And since the shoresh, the root of each nation, is derived of a different type of klipa, also the physical struggle changes from nation to nation, from time to time, from generation to generation, different decrees according to the nature of that nation and the nature of that klipa. So tonight is the eve of Chav Dalet Teves, the eve of Chanukah, and we are going to share a few spiritual insights about Chanukah, and beginning with some parperaot, some spiritual candies maybe. You can also write down, those who like to write down. And then we will go into the more Chabad discussion of what exactly we are celebrating and what exactly is this victory about. So first of all, let's bring some Kabbalah. Everybody likes Kabbalah. In Sefer Yetzirah, it says that Kislev is crowned by the letter Samach. Every month of the year is crowned by its own letter. The letter that is crowned in the month of Kislev is the letter Samach. And the letter that is crowned in the month of Teves is the letter Ayin. So if you spell them out, Samach, meaning Samach Mem Lange Chaf, and the letter Ayin, Ayin Yud Lange Nun, you have Sachakol the Gematria 250, which is Gematria of Ner. So this is in the month of Kislev and Teves, that's the month, these are the months of Ner. And we are lighting the Neros of the menorah. Sachakol, altogether, we light 36 Neros. Some things that I will say you heard before. It's okay. You'll have to forgive me. We light altogether 36 Neros, Lamed Vav, Keneged, corresponding to the 36 hours where Or Ein Sof, the infinite light of Hashem, was Meir, was shining in the world, and Adam HaRishon could see from one end of the world to the other. But when Adam sinned, Hashem realized that this light cannot be accessible to those who cannot be serving as a proper kelim for it, and therefore he had to conceal the light, so it should not give power to undesirable forces. And Hashem concealed this special Or Haganuz, the concealed light, in the Torah, and also Gnazol et Tzadikim, as the Alter Rebbe says in Netanya. And therefore, in the Torah, when we learn Torah, we get access to this light, and the Baal Shem Tov would actually use the Torah to find people who were
Recording
lost
in
and
progress.
needed to be found. And also tzaddikim. Tzaddikim have access to this light, and being miskashel to tzaddikim helps a lot. So there were 36 hours when this Or Ein Sof was shining to Adam HaRishon, and then it was nignaz, it was concealed in the Torah, and was made only available for those who are righteous, and there's no concern that they would abuse this special infinite light. And this is expressed in the name of our month, the month of Kislev, as you mentioned, Suri, Kislev, Kes Lamed Vav, that this Or that is usually mechuse, usually covered up. It's the Or of the Lamed Vav hours that was shining in the beginning of Sheshes Yemei Bereshis, after the creation of Adam Arishon, on Friday, the weekend, and through the months of Kislev, that special light that is usually concealed is now revealed. And Lamed Vav also denotes Gilui, the Rebbe explains. Lamed Vav is the gematria of Ele. Ele means these. You can point, these are. You can point and see, to show and indicate, because something is revealed. So you say Ele, which means it's revealed. So what is usually what is usually covered up, is now Ele, during the month of Kislev, and especially during the days of Chanukah, beginning from Yutes Kislev really, but peaking in the days of Chanukah, and especially during the time of the lighting of the menorah, this organuz, this concealed treasured light, is made available to us. The menorah, with which we are celebrating the miracle of Pach HaShemen in Chanukah, represents the menorah of Beis HaMikdash, of the temple, that represents Chochmas HaTorah, the wisdom of Torah. And therefore, Rabbeinu Zichronam Libracha Amru, they said, Harotze leachkim yadrim. If someone wants to become wiser, he should turn south. Because menorah, in Beis HaMikdash, the menorah was on the south. The shulchan, the table, was in the north. That's where sustenance comes. And therefore, the harotze le'ha'ashir, someone who wants to get rich, he should turn north. But harotze le'achkim, the one who wants to become wise, should face or move or direct himself southward, because this is where the menorah that represents the Chochmas HaTorah was placed, in the Mishkan and in the Mikdash. So certainly, says the Rebbe, this special light that radiates throughout the month of Kislev, from this organuz, from this mysterious, from this light that is usually transcends us so much that is not accessible. Surely, the Rebbe says, it's connected with the Gilui of Torah HaChasidus, with the revelation of Torah HaChasidus and Yutes Kislev, as will be explained. Now, Hasidim explain that Chanukah, as we all know, comes from the word chinuch, which means to train, to educate and train. What are we trained? What is that we are trained to do or to be during Chanukah? That, like you train a little child, you need to make Chanukah. Everybody likes Chanukah. You have to make it so yummy. You have sufganiyot, you have latkes, you have dreidels, you have chocolate gelt, you have real gelt, Chanukah gelt, you have alle gute Sachen. It's like when you train a child to go first time to Cheder. So you shower the child with candies, and the tati goes with him first time and gives him a lot of attention and hugs him and gives him a hand and he takes him to Cheder. All this is a Chanukah's HaCheder. We are dedicating, it's the first time that we are mashpia special light, extra light, to bestow upon the child, that he should really be excited and enjoy going to Cheder, assuming that later on he will go on by himself. So this is Chanukah, lechanech, chinuch. Like Chanukah Sabayis, when we build a new house. We make Chanukah Sabayis, we dedicate the house. We make a special event. People come, they bring some foods and gifts, and they give brachos. This is a special extra light to help those who are going to dwell in this house, to give them a boost, an extra bracha of dedication, of chinuch. Chanukah Sabah is that from then on, everything that will happen and the choices they will make in their home will be blessed by this Chanukah Sabah. So the same thing, Chanukah, spiritually, we are being trained. All 8 days of Chanukah, we are being trained. What are we being trained for, or to, or with? We are actually trained. As we see, we are lighting 8 candles of Chanukah, 8 nights of Chanukah, even though the menorah represents the menorah in Beis HaMikdash, in the temple that had 7 candles, not 8. We are celebrating by lighting the menorah with 8 candles. That represents this Or Ein Sof. 8 represents higher than nature. 8 represents infinity. 8 represents that which is supernatural. This is the light of the Geula. This is the Gilui of Or Ein Sof. Now, to become Kelim for Gilui, for the revelation of this organuz, of this special, supernal, transcendental light, we need to be trained. And for that is Chag HaChanukah. To sit next to menorah, the menorah, to prepare like we are doing now, trying to find out what this Yontif is about, to be prepared, the Ruchnius. And when we sit next to the menorah, we are actually facing the representation of Pnimius Or Ein Sof. The innermost aspect of an essence of godliness when we are facing the menorah. And by the Geula it will be fully revealed. But now we are beginning to be trained. We begin to be trained. So Or HaChanukah is Or HaGeula. We'll come back to it. We play with the Sevivon, with the dreidel. As we all know, Nes Gadol Haya Sham, Nun Gimel Hei Shin. That's Gematria 358, which is the same Gematria as Mashiach. So the Or of Chanukah is the Or of the Geula. The dreidel represents 4 Galios, 4 major Galios, exiles that the Jewish people had to go through. And the Tzir HaMerkazi, the central pole of the dreidel, represents Am Yisrael, the Jewish nation. How are these? What are these 4 Galios? So we have it right there on the onset of the Torah. The Torah is going to tell us that V'ha'aretz hayta tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tehom. These are the exiles we'll have to go through. V'ha'aretz hayta tohu, that's Babel, say Chazal. Tohu is the galus of Babel, Babylonia. Also corresponding to the Spheros, Keser and so on. Vohu is the galus of Madai, of Persia. Choshech is Yavan, the exile of Greece, of Yavan. And Al Pnei Tehom, over the abyss, is Edom, the galus of Edom that we are now concluding. The Klippa of Yavan is called Choshech. Choshech Al Pnei Tehom. The Klippa, the spiritual force, ungodly force of Yavan, of Greece, what was then represented by the Greek nation, is called Choshech, darkness. As we say in Alanissim, le'ashkicham torasecha, that they want to make us forget your Torah. So lehashkicham, lishkoyach, to forget what did the Greeks want us to forget? They wanted us to forget Torasecha, to forget the Elokus in the Torah, the godliness in the Torah. And leashkicham, to forget, lishkoyach. The Elokus in the Torah, that is like choshech, that's darkness, not to see the light of Torah. Every geula of the Jewish people is connected with light. Whether it is the geula of Mitzrayim, lechol Yisrael haya or b'moshbosam, or light. Then geula of Purim, ליהודים עשה אורה ושמחה וששון ועיקר. אורה. חנוכה, מנורה, אור. קליפס יוון is חושך. Anti-Semitism meaning anti-godliness. However, we are told, Kislev, Lev בגמטריה למ"ו, למ"ו is 36 is the gematria of what the Rebbe said, Eile. So in Shema, the Torah warns us, you will be confronted by all kinds of klippas, and generally represented by klippas Bavel and klippas Mitzrayim is the source of all Galios. All Galios. That's the Galios of Mitzrayim, the source of all Galios. But then the following Galios were the Bavel and Madai and Yavan and Edom. And each one will challenge you and will bring darkness into your reality. But in Shema we are told, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך. אלה, what is אלה? This organuz. The Elokus in the Torah. Says the Torah, you should always keep them al levavecha. This lamed vav hours of the organuz that was shining in the Torah, which means then Adam Arishon could see the Elokus of Torah. We could see that our reality is Elokus, is godliness. Now we don't see. Even when we feel alive, we don't see that it's godliness that makes us, brings us into existence and sustains us. We don't feel that. Everything is hidden, choshech. Nevertheless, we are told, והיו הדברים האלה, אלה גמטריה למ"ו, this organuz, never forget, this organuz, this Ein Sof, the light of Hashem that is shining in the Torah, and if you are learning Torah with the intention to connect with that, you will, with God's help. So it tells us the Torah, והיו הדברים האלה על לבביך, and אם שיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, this is the organuz, the Elokus in the Torah, and the Elokus in the Neshama. Never forget it, that this is eternal. And connected this divinity, all the wicked nations are trying to fight. בימים ההם and בזמן הזה. The Rebbe made a big fuss about the menorah. And he said that it's the only mitzvah, except for para aduma, that you do for the mei chatas, for the purification from the severe tumah of the dead. It's the only mitzvah that is done in Reshus HaRabim, in the public domain, and affects the world to this extent. The Rebbe was big about making a menorah. Another aspect of our special connection with Or Ein Sof, which enables us to really rely, to really trust that which is supernatural, that will stand for us, Vehi she'amda lanu v'lavoseinu, in all generations. Kislev comes from the word kesel, kaf samach lamed. Kesel means to trust. It means confidence. And the special function that every month has Kabbalistically that is connected with the month of Kislev is Chush HaShena, sleep. And it's connected because when do we sleep deeply? When we have bitachon, when we have the serenity in the Hashgacha Elyona, the in total serenity that comes out of trust that each and one of us is supervised individually, every step, every cell, every atom, every moment, and every place. And the special Hashgacha Elyona on Am Yisrael. So the month of Kislev is month of bitachon. It's a month of victory, which also bitachon is connected to Netzach, and Netzach is nitzachon, victorious energy of the month of Kislev, while trusting the Hashgacha Elyona that completely protects us. And the Od Samech, the letter Samech, which is crowned in the month of Kislev, looks like an eagle, like a circle, that represents this infinite light, the Or HaSoibel, the supernatural energy that is specially connected with the neshama of the Jewish people. What we celebrate even more than the victory over our enemies is the Nes of Pach HaShemen, even though in Al Nisim, which we say both in Birkas Hamazon and in Shmoneh Esrei, it doesn't mention Pach HaShemen, the miracle. It just say that Idliku Nerot Bechatzot Kodshecha. The Yevanim were Antiochus, under the governing of Antiochus Harasha, took hold of Beis Hamikdash for 3 years, and they really desecrated it. The Medrash says that they took hold on the Chaf Hei of Kislev. 3 years later, on Chaf Hei Kislev, there was the miracle of Chanukah and the Chanukah, the salvation from the Greeks. But they were controlling the Beis Hamikdash for 3 years, and they defiled it, and I don't even want to say what they did there. Sounds familiar. But what we celebrate more and more as the generations unfolded is the Neis HaShemen, Shemen Zayis. In Kabbalah, oil, especially olive oil, represents the innermost mystical aspects of the wisdom of the Torah. This sounds very poetic, where the intellect meets the divine. Where the intellect meets the divine. This is what oil represents, the pnimius HaChochma. Oil bichlal is connected with Chochma, and olive oil is especially connected with pnimius HaChochma, which means that the essence of Chochma is really rooted higher than intellect, is rooted in the divine. So we have the Chochmas HaTorah, we have the number 36, which is all the neros that we light all together during Chanukah, which is connected with this Or Ein Sof, the infinite light, special light. And also we have the number 25, also connected with Chanukah. Chanukah, the name Chanukah they rested on the 25th Chaf Hei of Kislev. Now, if you look in the Torah, the 25th letter in the Torah, the 25th, word in the Torah is Or, light, Yehi Or. Even the word Yehi is 25. And then right there in Bereshis, Hashem asks Adam Arishon, Adam in the Garden of Eden, after he ate from the tree, a question that is addressed to each and every one of us each and every day, as the Alter Rebbe explained to his interrogator in jail. And that is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is asking each and every one of us, as he asked Adam Arishon, Ayeka, where are you? But Ayeka means, Ayeka, where is, if the 25th word is Or in the Torah, I hope I'm not making a mistake, it's not the Aleph of the Or, that's the 25th letter, I think it's the 25th word. Hashem is asking him, Ayeka, where is your or? Which is the 25th word of in Bereshis. Where is your or? Where is your light? Where is your light? And what did you do with your light? And we are asked that every day. Where is your light? And what are you doing with the light? And how are you combating the klipa of choshech, of darkness? So the Inyan of klipas yavan, the ungodly force that we had to combat, and this is the Inyan of any galus we go through. It's really a spiritual war. It's a spiritual war between kedusha, between godliness, divinity, and holiness, truth and purity, and between different ungodly forces. The klipas yavan is the klipa of choshech. It's the milchama, the war between light and darkness, the milchama of faith in that which is above nature, the 8 candles, all the way to until the right elevates the left, and everything is one. So as we said, all the Yamim Tovim, all the celebrations, all the Geulas, all the Yeshuas, all the salvations in our history are connected with the increasing of light. And that's why in Mitzrayim, Or b'Moshposam, in Purim, Or v'Simcha, Chanukah, the Or of the Menorah, Yutes Kislev, the Rebbe Rashab says that Or v'Chayus Nafshenu Nitan Lanu, that on Yutes Kislev we got the Or and the Chayus, the Or and the vitality for our souls to end the Galus and enter the Geula. So the Inyan of Geula is always connected with an increasing light and training us to contain and to integrate a higher light, a higher light, a higher light, each time another Geula, until we are able to contain Or and Sof, which Chag HaChanukah, which remain, and Purim, which will remain at the Geula Amitis V'Shlema, remain shining bright, is a training for that. So this Or is the Or of truth, the Or of pure divinity. And therefore Chazal tells us that when we light the menorah, Ein lanu reshus lishtamesh bahen. We have no reshus, we have no permission to use the candles, ela lirosan bilvad, only to see them, to look at them, which means when you are facing the light of the menorah, ein lanu reshus lishtamesh bahem. We cannot use that light to manipulate or to connect it to apply, to project our agendas. This is not time for our own shticks. We are facing truth. We are facing the pure light of godliness. And it's the time to transcend the personal agendas and to allow the light of truth, the light of God, to permeate ourselves in such a way that we are transcended when we are facing the candles of the menorah of Chanukah. We are transcended beyond our personal limited self. Now, to speak a little bit more Chabad about Chanukah. So give me another few minutes and I will end. So Chag HaChanukah is like many other Chagim, Yamim Tovim, Israel, really comes b'schus of Umos HaOlam, and I'm sure that another one is coming up now. This is the Geula Amitis V'Shlema, which means that the nations of the world decreed different decrees on Am Yisrael, and after HaKadosh Baruch Hu worked out miracles and saved Bnei Yisrael from the decrees, from the pogroms, from the slavery, those days turned to be days of simcha for generations. So was Chag HaPesach, Yatzanu mi'avdus lecherus, from slavery to freedom, Mishiabud legeula, as we say the Seder. so to Purim, so to Chanukah, all kinds of Yeshuas of salvations. So as we said before, these physical struggles and battles with the different nations that oppressed us, with all the decrees and the pogroms, were just a derivative of a spiritual battle between the Klippas, which are the source of chayos of the nations of the world, and between the Neshamos Israel. And since the shoresh, the root of each nation, is derived of a different type of klippa, also the physical struggle changes from nation to nation, from time to time, from generation to generation, different decrees according to the nation, to the nature of that nation and the nature of that klippa. Pesach represents the struggle against Klippas Mitzrayim, the klippa of Egypt. Purim represents the fight against Klippas Amalek. Chanukah, we are fighting the klippa of Yavan. So now we need to understand, because at the end of this day, we're lighting the menorah. What is this Klippas Yavan exactly? So the Yevanim, the Greeks, were Anshei Mada veChochma. They were people of science and people of wisdom. They were people of philosophy. They, as the Rebbe explained, as we heard many times, did not fight, did not resist and oppose the Chochmas HaTorah, the wisdom of the Torah, because they understood that one Chochma doesn't have to negate the other, and they understood that the Torah possesses deep wisdom, and they didn't object the study of the Torah as a wisdom. Also, they didn't object the emunah pshuta that Yidden have. They did not object the pure faith that Yidden, the Jews, have in God, because they viewed seichel and emunah as two separate realms. And therefore, as you still have this Greek mentality in our days, Anshei Mada אינם מתערבים בענייני אמונה. People of science don't mix into matters of faith, and you don't mix matters of faith into science. So the Yevanim, they were not bothered by the fact that Bnei Israel, at least in the beginning, in principle. Later on, it was they asked for learning Torah Bechlal, of course, but in principle, in essence, it didn't bother them that they learned Torah as an interesting wisdom, full of logic and content, good content. They were fighting the learning of the Torah as a divine logic, as a divine wisdom, as a divine intellect, which is spiritual and holy, filled with pure emunah. And that's why when they realized that Yidden, this is the way they learn Torah, they were forbidding learning Torah altogether. So this is, I looked at the essence that I really like an essay from Rabbi Gopin from Eretz Israel, and he says that you can say that really the main war of the Yevanim was against Torah Chasidus, even though Hasidus wasn't revealed yet. But in essence, if you understand the spiritual principle here, really the war of the Yevani was a war against Hasidus Chabad. Why? Because on one hand, what is Hasidus Chabad? And that's why Yutes Kislev comes in proximity and as an onset for Chanukah. It opens the gate. Because on one hand, Hasidus Chabad is Seichel, Chochma bin Adat. It's intellect, it's logic. that is understood, various concepts and deep concepts that are understood through Mashalim and so on and so forth. Very intellectual kind of study, very logical, very systematic. On the other hand, Teras HaChasidus deals with faith, with godliness, with Ahavas Hashem, with bitul, with nullification to Elokus, all the way to Mesiras Nefesh, beyond reason and beyond logic. So what is the Hasidus, that Hasidus Chabad does? It combines together and merges together the intellectual understanding with the light of faith, the light of pure faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, both together, which Yavan said, no, two different realms, either science or faith. You want to be a Maimin? Go, fine, go to your shul, go to your monastery. But if you want to be a science, you want to be a philosopher, no way. You want logic, you don't mix faith and logic. Comes Hasidus Chabad and says, Adrabah, what makes logic pure is the faith that is behind it. And you do bring faith into logic and into the wisdom of the Torah, into the divine wisdom. So Hasidus Chabad combines the intellectual understanding with the light of pure emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And against this, the Klippa of Yavan is fighting against the merging of emunah with intellect. So the intellect becomes now an intellect of light, of Mesiras Nefesh. So one more time, Hasidus Chabad says that the logical, intellectual understanding has to be lit up with pure emunah in God. And therefore, the victory of the Chashmonaim enables Teras Hasidus, says the Rebbe, to overcome and be victorious. So Yidden should continue to bridge between faith and logic, between faith and intellect, and to mix emunah into intellect, to bring it down, the holy emunah in Hashem, into the human mind, into human consciousness. So the entire consciousness of the human mind and the human logic will be battled to Hashem. That which is so called and so claims to be separate from faith should become the kli to hold faith and to give it a tziyur, to give it a description, to give it a word, to give it a formula. So Hasidus reveals that there is no contradiction between emunah and sechel. Adrabah, the emunah and the kashrus of the esem haneshama are higher than sechel, shines in the sechel. And the sechel is like a levush, like a garment that formulates and defines this emunah pshuta. So it will be integrated and enclosed in pnimius, and will now become part of our daily consciousness. And the difference is huge. The difference is huge. Why? It makes a difference on the whole avodah of a person. How so? In every concept that is explained in Hasidus, with a deep logical explanation, shines the divine truth, which is higher than logic, as we said. And therefore, when you learn Hasidus, the more you understand divine concepts, the more you have faith in God, the more you are attached to God, and the more bitul you have to God, the more subdued you are to the divine. So the more in Hasidus, because the essence of the wisdom of Hasidus is divine, The more you learn, the more you understand, the more bittul you are. On the other hand, those that are only holding by seichel, and they want to understand everything, and they view faith as contradictory to logic, like the Greeks thought, and many people do think like that today as well. It's a secularism kind of thinking. So the more they understand the greatness of God, the more they become a yesh. They become more metzius, more ego, with a feeling that, oh, I understood another deep concept and another spiritual concept, and so on. This is how the Tzemach Tzedek explained the difference between the Rambam and Aristotle. That the Rambam, Shneim, both of them were dealing with philosophy, with the research of life, of the principles of life. But the Rambam, the more he understood the Lukus, the more humble he became, and the more pious and the more attached to God. And Aristotle, the more he understood the greatness of God, which he had a great mind, he understood that God is great. The more he understood, the more he felt himself as a Messias. So this Pnimius HaChochma that combines seichel with faith, this is the inyan of shemen. This is oil. And it accomplishes a bittul on the one who uses his intellect to reflect on this light of Chassidus. Against this, the Yevanim, the Greeks, were fighting, and they wanted to uproot this connection with the divinity within the Chochmas HaTorah. They wanted to uproot it. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with his great mercy, made a nace and left a small jug of oil, pure oil, that the Yevanim did not manage to defile. And this oil was burning for 8 days and gave Bnei Israel the koyach, the power to continue and engage in Pnimius HaTorah as a hachana to the Geula Amitis V'Shlema by combining faith with intellect. That the intellect is not cold and dead and just a tool of the ego. Rather, the intellect is a vehicle through which we can internalize and integrate the divinity into our daily consciousness and our daily perception of reality. So Ikar Hanei, says the Tzemach Tzedek, we celebrate with oil more than the victory. It's connected with the prophecy of Geula, says the Tzemach Tzedek, that with this we are lighting the olive oil, the Zecher Leneis Pach HaShemen, the miracle of the jug of oil, which connected to the prophecy Ve'amdu Raglav Bayom Hahu Al Har HaZeisim, that it says about Mashiach that his feet will stand on that day, the day of redemption, on Mount Olives. And the Shemen Zayis of Chanukah certainly is a training for the Geula, the light of the Geula. Much more to say. I just want to conclude that as we light the 8 neros of the menorah, we also have in mind that the kinnor of Beis HaMikdash, the harp of Beis HaMikdash, had 7 strings, and the heart of the kinnor of Mashiach will have 8 strings, eventually 10, but by the Geula, the harp will have 8 strings. So Bnei Yisachar says that we have 10 days that are called Yemei Nisim. And by this I'm concluding. 10 days are 10, we have in the Jewish calendar, divine calendar, we have 10 Nisim days, miracle days. The 2 days of Purim and the 8 days of Chanukah. Says the Bnei Yisachar. We have 10 days of Nisim. How many hours are in these 10 days? Reish Mem Shaos. 200, I didn't count, but I believe him, 240 hours, says Bnei Yisachar. 240, that's the gematria of Amalek, Ram. And therefore, these days of Purim and Chanukah that will remain shining in the time of Mashiach, that are all about transforming darkness to light, have the power to destroy Klippas Amalek, which represents the das of Klippa, the attachment to ungodliness. And we need to, therefore, to remember with our das every day, Zachor es asher asa lach Amalek, and Meche is Amalek. We need to erase Amalek from existence.